All right, I've been wanting to do this video for a while now. It's over the Darton Spectra 32 and the Prelude 32. I've obviously had the Spectra last year. I hunted with it. Had the Prelude for a while now. I've had plenty of reps get through it, so I'm pretty confident in doing a comparison between the two videos. I don't get just overly involved with doing one versus another, but I just thought I would share my opinion over the two bows, so that if you are in the market for a new bow, or you're trying to decide which one you might want, that you kind of know what's out there, because there may not be a Darton dealer in your area, and you may be kind of like me. I pretty much have to buy my bows and then try them out, and if they don't fit me, then I sell them and get another bow. But if you're looking for a dealer, a Darton dealer, Dead Meat Archery with Ben Orff is his name. You can look him up on Facebook or Instagram. He's a great guy to deal with. I've done a lot of business with him. He's honest, and it's fair pricing on everything. So if you need a dealer, there's a good point of contact on that. All right, so let's get into it real quick. I'm gonna hit you with some facts. I like facts, and these facts are based off of my equipment, my chrono. I find it to be pretty accurate when I go to archery shoots and I use their chrono. It's typically within a feet or two of my chrono, so I'm pretty confident that they're accurate speeds and whatnot. So the Spectra 32 is 32-inch axle to axle. The Prelude is the same thing. It's a 32-inch bow. My draw length on both bows are set at 29¼ inch. The Spectra is at 68.10 pounds. The holding weight is 11.29, which is an 84% let off. Okay, I'm shooting a Black Eagle Carnivore this year. It's at 366 grains, and the Spectra is shooting 307 feet per second with that arrow. Okay, the Prelude again is a 32-inch bow, 29¼ inch draw. I've got it set at 63.86 pounds. The holding weight is 14.91, which is a 76% let off, and with the exact same arrow, okay, it's shooting 300 feet per second. Very close. Obviously, there's about a 5-pound difference in there. The Prelude is faster bow, and I'll kind of explain that in a minute. One other thing I want to hit you with on a fact is what I call the hunt carry weight. Okay, like what does this bow weigh when it's in my hand when I'm in the stand? Okay, minus an arrow. So the Spectra is set up with an HHA Rise Tetra Max with an HHA Virtus Rest. I don't have any stabilizers or any weights, and I say that so that you can see the comparison between the two bows. So that is how I would basically have this bow in my hand. I do carry the tree limb, not tree limb, but the tight spot quivers on both bows. So whatever one bow would be, it would be identical to the other, because I basically can just switch them out. All right. The Prelude 32 has the HHA Rise Tetra, the regular Tetra, with a QAD on it. So essentially, both bows have identical equipment. Okay, neither one of them have any stabilizers on them. The Spectra carry weight, hold weight, whatever you want to call it, is 6.27 pounds. The Prelude is 6.33 pounds, literally identical on weight. Okay, so there's that. All right, now let's get into a couple other things. Both bows have the draw mods, and they are set to 1/4 inch. They used to have 1/2 inch increments, now they have 1/4 inch increments. Some people don't realize that that's a big factor, but it is a huge factor for me, finding that perfect draw length. And for example, I mean, mine is set at 29 1/4, not 29 and not 29 1/2. And some people are like, man, that's a hunting bow, it doesn't matter. You know, a 1/2 inch one way or the other, and some people, you know, way overdraw. Each to their own. My plan is to be as accurate as I possibly can. And draw length is something that affects accuracy a lot. That's a whole nother video. Anyway, moving on. So on both bows have this as an option. I'm not 100% sure that you can tell, but the cam on the Prelude is pretty significantly larger, okay? Which is where they're getting their speed from. Some people like speed. Some people like it to be quiet. Some people want a smooth draw. There has to be typically a little bit of give and take. Either you want some speed or you want a smoother draw. Both bows have a good draw. I do prefer the Spectra draw over the Prelude draw because of the cam size. Now, I don't want to scare anybody away from the Prelude because this is a phenomenal bow. I love this bow. Matter of fact, this is the bow I'll hunt with this year is the Prelude, and I'll carry my Spectra as the backup. But the Prelude, it does have a pretty good hump in it to obviously get past this bad boy right here. But it doesn't have a hump and dump necessarily where you just come all the way back and just fall into it, okay? So it doesn't have that. One of the things I do like about the Spectra is it is faster. The Prelude is faster than the Prelude, which allows me to decrease the poundage I'm drawing a little bit, which equals out some of the draw. So yeah, it's still a little bit more of a hump, but I'm pulling more weight with the Spectra, so there's that. Had a couple shoulder surgeries, and when you do those, you don't want to have another one, so you try to think, you know, what's causing this, and can my shoulder handle it? Some people can only draw 60 pounds. Some people can only draw 50 pounds. Some people draw 80 pounds. I got a couple buddies of mine, Jeremiah, he wants an 80 pound bow, and I wouldn't doubt he probably wants a 90 pound bow, but that's him, and he can do that, and he hunts big stuff. So anyway, so that's about the cam. Let's talk about the grip real quick. Again, you're probably not going to be able to see it in the video, okay, by any means, but in my opinion, they're about the same width, okay? The angle is a little bit different, but where I find that the bows are significantly different, and I say significantly, the Spectra on the back, and the front for that matter, but specifically on the back where your grip's going to be, is a little bit more squared off. It is flat, and now when I say squared off, I'm not talking about square. I mean, the corners are rounded, but for the most part, it's squared off, similar to a lot of target bows. Is what it reminds me of, is a target bow grip. It's a great grip, and it's an extremely accurate grip for me, the way I hold my bow. The Prelude is the new grip that they have come out with, and from my understanding, I haven't shot the Exodus or the Departure yet, but from my understanding, both of those grips are very similar to the Prelude. All right, so when I got the Prelude, literally the first thing I noticed was the grip. Why? Because that's what you grab first, so that's what you notice first. I was like, man, that feels comfortable. You know, it's not as rigid on the corners as the Spectra. When I say rounded, it's a little bit more rounded on the corners, but it still has a flat back in the center, so that, you know, when you're at full draw and you're pushed out, it will sit extremely comfortably. Now, what I found with this grip the most is that it is super comfortable. I mean, when you're at full draw, what it reminds me of is an old baseball glove or an old pair of leather gloves, and it's 5 years old, 10 years old, whatever, and you haven't put that glove on in a while, and all of a sudden you put your glove on, you pop it a couple times, and it's like you've had it on all day. I mean, that's just what this grip reminds me of. It is so comfortable, and I have found it to be extremely forgiving, allowing some torque, and that's big. You know, it's one thing to be out on a 3D course or sitting on the line punching paper, and you have all the time in the world to get everything right, look at your bubbles. You know, you got these big stabilizer bars, kind of like I do on my Vegases over here, and it just sits perfect. Well, when I'm sitting in a saddle and I'm leaning over to the side, I don't have all that. And for me, if I can eliminate some torque or find a bow that will help me to eliminate some torque, I'm going to probably lean in that situation because, you know, like I said earlier, I'm trying to make the best ethical shot that I can. So this little bit of forgiveness for me, I find it very welcoming for the way that I hunt in my style of grip and shot. Okay, so I really like this new grip on this Prelude. Nothing wrong with the Spectra whatsoever. Hands down, if I had to compare the two, the Spectra is a much smoother draw than the Prelude. But again, there's nothing wrong with the Prelude's draw. It's just, it's there, and I want you to know it's there in case you can't get it. Now, some people, it depends on what bow you came from. If you're shooting a different Darton or a PSE or a Matthews or whatever other bow that exists out there, you know, you may have been coming from a more harsher draw than this, and this may be what you consider a butter smooth draw. Now, let's talk about butter smooth. Absolutely dead in the hand, both of them. They are super quiet. I don't have a string silencer on either one of these bows, and they just spit arrows like, even inside the shop where there's some echo, it is super quiet. Now, when you're outside, you can't even hardly hear it. I've had recorded videos where I was, you know, 20 or 30 yards away and I had the camera at target, and you can't even hear it. The only thing you can really hear is that the arrow coming down through there. So, what else? Oh, quick story on the Spectra. Okay, so a buddy of mine comes over and he shoots those yellow and black bows, Matthews, yeah, that's what they are. I won't hold that against him. He's a good friend of mine, Dusty, and so he comes over. We was talking about something else, and he's asking about the bows, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's the new Prelude. It's hanging up right there." I said, "Man, you can shoot it if you want to." So I gave him a release, and he shoots it, and he's like, "Man, that's nice." And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "It's quiet, dude." And I said, "Yeah, it's quiet." And he said, "It's just dead." I'm like, "Yeah, I find the same thing, you know." And anyway, so he shoots it 5 or 6 times. He puts the bow up, and we start talking a little bit about something else. And I said, "Shoot the Spectra." I said, just that way you shoot both of them. And so he grabs up the Spectra, shoots it, turns around and looks at me, and he's like, "Oh my gosh." And I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of anticipated you saying that." So again, him coming from a different bow manufacturer, he found one bow over another, and you may find the same thing. Anyway, all right. If you got any questions, feel free to send me a DM, whatnot. Let me talk about one other thing real quick: the E-system on these bows. Both the Prelude and the Spectra have the E-system. You're like, "All right, Tracy, what's the E-system?" The E-system is this dual. It's got dual yokes, top and bottom. Okay, and it's got this little roller right here. Okay, which allows you to tune the bow, and you may need to put some right twist or some twist on the left, whatever. But this allows the pressure to equalize a little bit on your axles and helps with the cam lean. It's a great tunability to have. Where I've had the Veracity 35 and the Maverick XT. They do not have the E system. You have to shim them cams one side or the other, and there's really no other way of twisting yokes on those. So I prefer these bows over those. Nothing wrong with the Veracity or the Maverick. I killed a ton of pigs last year with the Maverick. I had the Veracity this year, and I really like that bow. If I was looking for one bow, if you said, Tracy, what's one bow I can shoot 3D with, paper with, and hunt with? I said all day long, the Veracity 35. It is the best of both worlds. There's some of the pros that are shooting the Veracity 35. I know Jack shoots the Veracity for IBO for sure. And I think he shot it even some during some of his ASA shoots. But anyway, I do prefer the yoke system though that I can tune. Anyway, all right, I've rambled enough. If you got any questions, like I said, get with me. If you're looking for a dealer, Ben Orff's a great guy to deal with. I'll try to put his link in the description. And God bless. Have a safe, prosperous season, and maybe I'll see you around. Take care.